So here is what happened last week at the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics in Milan. And when you understand what it means, when you really see the pattern it fits into, it tells you everything about where America stands in the world right now. February 6, 2026, Milan, Italy. The opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics, 65,000 people in attendance. According to Time Magazine, Newsweek, The Daily Beast, the Associated Press, NBC News, and CBC, when Team USA walked into the stadium, the crowd cheered. Real applause for the athletes. Then the camera panned to the VIP section. Vice President J.D. Vance waving a miniature American flag. And according to every single one of those outlets, 65,000 people booed. Not scattered boos, not a section of the crowd, the entire stadium, whistling, jeering, sustained booing aimed directly at the Vice President of the United States at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. CBC broadcaster Adrienne Arsenault was calling it live. According to her on-air commentary reported across multiple outlets, she said, and this is a direct quote, "Those are a lot of boos for him. Those are a lot of boos at the Olympics." The event that is supposed to represent international unity and sportsmanship. And the crowd cheered the American athletes, but booed the American government on the biggest stage in international sport. Now, you might say, okay, that is one crowd in Italy. But here is the part that makes this about more than one ceremony. According to NPR, ESPN, and ABC News, which we verified earlier in another context, Milan's own mayor, Giuseppe Sala, had publicly called U.S. immigration and customs enforcement agents a militia that kills. And according to those same reports, thousands of protesters took to the streets of Milan, demanding ICE agents leave the city during the Olympics. So when 65,000 people booed the Vice President of the United States, they were not booing in a vacuum. They were booing in a city where the mayor had already declared American law enforcement unwelcome and where protesters were marching against American presence. But this story does not start in Milan. This story starts 11 months earlier on a hockey rink in Montreal. And when you understand what happened in Montreal, the booing in Milan makes perfect sense. February 15th, 2025, Bell Center, Montreal. According to the NHL, CBC Sports, TSN, and ESPN, 21,105 fans packed the arena for the Four Nations face-off tournament, United States versus Canada. This game happened just weeks after President Trump had announced tariffs on Canadian goods and had been calling Canada the 51st state. And according to CBC, TSN, Sportsnet, and ESPN, before the puck dropped, the arena announcer asked the crowd to please respect both anthems. And then the Star-Spangled Banner played. And according to every outlet, 21,000 people booed the entire anthem. Then the puck dropped. And according to NHL.com and multiple sports outlets, what happened next was the fastest brawl in international hockey history. 2 seconds into the game, Matthew Tkachuk of the United States dropped his gloves and fought Brandon Hagel of Canada. Then Brady Tkachuk fought Sam Bennett. Then JT Miller fought Colton Parayko. 3 separate fights. 9 seconds total. CBS News specifically called it the fastest brawl in the history of international hockey. But here is the moment that most people missed, and this is the one that reveals just how deep the anger went. The tournament proceeded to a final, United States versus Canada. But the final was not played in Montreal. According to NHL records, it was played in Boston, on American ice, in front of American fans. And according to reporting from the CBC and Sportsnet, during the Canadian national anthem before that final game, the singer Chantal Kreviazuk changed the lyrics on live television in front of thousands of people. The official lyrics of O Canada are in all of us command. According to verified reports, she sang that only us command. An anthem singer rewrote her national anthem in real time on international television to send a message. And then Canada won the game. According to NHL.com, final score 3-2 in overtime. Connor McDavid scored the winning goal on American ice in Boston. And according to multiple reports, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau posted one line afterwards, quote, "You can't take our country and you can't take our game." That was February 2025, the anthem booing, the 9-second brawl, the rewritten lyrics, the overtime win on American soil. That was 11 months before Milan. And between Montreal and Milan, something else happened that connected these two moments. NBC, America's Olympic broadcaster, released a commercial. According to NBC Sports, NHL.com, and multiple verified sources, NBC produced an advertisement featuring American hockey players, including Jack Eichel, a four-time NHL All-Star, along with John Hamm, Austin Matthews, Brady Tkachuk, Quinn Hughes, and Charlie McAvoy. And in this commercial, according to the reporting, they asked, what is the biggest prize at the Olympics? And the answer, referencing the four nations face-off in Montreal, was Canadian tears. The commercial aired during Sunday Night Football. Tens of millions of Americans watched their Olympic hockey team celebrate the idea of making Canada cry as the prize worth winning. Now think about what that means, not as a marketing gimmick, as a statement about a relationship. Canada is the country that has fought alongside the United States in every major conflict for over a century. Korea, Afghanistan, NATO partnerships. Canada is the country that opened its airports on September 11th when American airspace shut down. And now American Olympic coverage is telling tens of millions of viewers that Canadian tears are the trophy. And then the Olympics started, and Vice President Vance walked into the opening ceremony, and 65,000 people booed. So let me connect all of these pieces, because this is not about hockey, and this is not about one commercial, and this is not about one crowd in Milan. This is about how the world sees America right now. 11 months ago, 21,000 Canadians booed the American anthem in Montreal. American and Canadian players brawled 9 seconds into an international tournament. An anthem singer changed the words to her national anthem on live television. Canada beat America on American ice. And the Prime Minister of Canada posted that you cannot take our country. Then NBC turned that rivalry into a commercial celebrating Canadian tears. Then thousands of Italians protested American law enforcement presence in Milan while their mayor called ICE a militia that kills. Then the Olympics began and the crowd cheered American athletes but booed the American vice president. These are not separate stories. This is one story about how America's closest allies are responding to American behavior, and it is being played out on the biggest stages in international sport, because sport is where national identity and international perception collide in ways that cannot be hidden or spun. And here is the part that should concern everyone watching this. According to the verified timeline, all of this happened in less than a year. February 2025, Montreal boos the anthem. February 2026, Milan boos the vice president. 12 months. That is how fast the relationship deteriorated to the point where crowds at international events are openly expressing hostility not to American athletes, but to American leadership. Now, you might say this is just sports fans being sports fans. Rivalries get heated. But that explanation does not account for the mayor of Milan calling American law enforcement a militia. It does not account for thousands of protesters in the streets. It does not account for an anthem singer changing lyrics on live television. It does not account for the prime minister posting about sovereignty after a hockey game. What accounts for all of that is a fundamental shift in how America's closest allies see the relationship. And that shift is being expressed in sports, because sports are where you can say things through symbolism and action that would be diplomatic incidents if said directly. When 21,000 Canadians boo the American anthem, they are not booing a song. They are booing tariffs and trade wars and being called the 51st state. When Chantal Kreviazuk changes the lyrics from "in all of us command" to that "only us command," she is not making a creative choice. She is making a political statement about sovereignty. When 65,000 people in Milan boo the American vice president while cheering American athletes, they are making a very clear distinction between the American people and the American government. And all of this is happening at the Olympics, which are supposed to be above politics. The fact that these games have become a stage for expressing anger at American leadership tells you how deep the frustration runs. We have documented this pattern repeatedly in trade, in defense, in energy partnerships, in diplomatic relationships, and now in sport, the last arena that was supposed to stay neutral. And the question we should be asking is not whether this is fair or unfair to America. The question is whether this is sustainable. Can the United States maintain its alliances, its partnerships, its influence in the world when crowds at international events boo its leadership? When mayors of host cities call American law enforcement militias? When anthem singers rewrite their national anthems in protest? When commercial broadcasters turn allied suffering into entertainment? Because here is what we know from history. Once international perception shifts, once allies start expressing frustration publicly, it does not reverse quickly. You cannot unring that bell. The crowd in Montreal that booed the anthem is not going to suddenly start cheering. The 65,000 people in Milan who booed are not going to forget why. And this is happening before the biggest international sporting event on the planet, the FIFA World Cup, hosted by the United States this summer, 48 nations, the entire world watching. What happens when those 48 nations arrive in American cities this summer? What happens when their fans interact with American fans? What happens when their media covers American leadership the way Milan's crowd just did? The World Cup is not controlled the way the Olympics are. The crowds will be bigger. The scrutiny will be more intense. And if the pattern we are seeing continues, the United States is about to host the biggest international event in sport while being the target of international frustration. Now, none of this means American athletes will not compete well. None of this means the games will not happen. But it means something has fundamentally changed in how America is perceived on the world stage. And that change is being expressed in ways that millions of people can see and hear. Crowds booing, mayors protesting, anthem singers rewriting lyrics, broadcasters celebrating Allied tears, prime ministers posting about sovereignty. 12 months ago, this would have been unthinkable. Today, it is documented fact. The crowd booed, the commercial aired, the fights happened, the anthem was changed. That is not a prediction. That is not analysis. That is a description of what has already happened in just 12 months. And what comes next depends entirely on whether America recognizes what these moments actually represent and what they mean. Because when 65,000 people boo your vice president at the actual Olympics while cheering your athletes, they are telling you something. And what they are telling you is that they have stopped separating criticism of policy from criticism of leadership. They are telling you that the anger has reached the point where it gets expressed publicly at events watched by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. Montreal was the warning. Milan was the confirmation. The World Cup is 3 months away. And if the pattern continues, America is about to learn what it means to host the entire world when the world is booing.